Tighten Up, the podcast, is brought to you by Hyperice, the leading provider of innovative technology for recovery, mobility, and improved performance. They help the Titans. They can help you too. Learn more online at hyperice.com.
This is Grant Gondrzik II. Let's tighten up.
Detroit, it's time to tighten up. Welcome to Tighten Up, the podcast, presented by The Shield NIL. Brought to you by Hyperice and Last Shot Energy. A state of the Titans, the latest in Detroit Mercy athletics, and a chance to hear from Titans all over the world. Here's your host, Dan Hasty.
And away we go. It's Tighten Up, the podcast. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. This is a special show that we get a chance to bring to you here this week. Titans season continues to keep on rolling. They continue to work their way through the Horizon League. And this becomes the first time in show history that we have not one, but two guests here on Tighten Up. And this one's unique because it pulls the past with the present. And I don't think we'll do a show like this very often. And who better to do it than to bring in Nate Johnson, who was the very first Horizon League Freshman of the Week here in this 2024-2025 season. Nate, good to see you, my man. How are you? Welcome to the show.
I'm doing good. Thank you. I appreciate you for having me on here.
This is big time for you to have the season you've had and to get the kind of opportunities you've had. And we're going to go into all that because you've had a really, really big first year. But I never expected to be able to bring in somebody who in a lot of ways kind of reminds me of a similar impact that you have had during his time as a Titan. Wilbert McCormick, what are you doing here?
How you doing? Thanks for inviting me to the show.
This is so cool. And again, I don't think we'll do this very often just because we don't have an excuse to bring in somebody who has such a great impact in the history of Detroit Mercy basketball like you, Wilbert, but you are cousins with Nate. So, I mean, explain how all this came together. Nate coming to Detroit Mercy and Wilbert, how much recruiting did you do?
Interesting that you say that. Well, I always knew that Nate was going to be a major college player. I mean, he has, and I still believe that he has a tremendous upside. And I can remember when Monty first got the job, Monty called me. I was on the road, and Monty called me and said, Wilbur, said, we want Nate. And I said, are you serious? He said, we want Nate. So I said, well, let me put in a phone call. So the first thing I did was call Nate and called his mom. And I don't think I had to do too much pushing because, I mean, they know the history of the University of Detroit. And it was an opportunity for Nate to improve on the progress he's made in the last few years. And I always honest with the person. I told Nate that the pluses and the minuses of University of Detroit, and he was intrigued, and his mom was intrigued, and there we are.
So Nate, if memory serves, you were one of, if not the very first recruit after Mark Montgomery took over as head coach. Is that right? Were you the first?
I think I was one of the first, yeah.
Yeah, if not the first. So what did it mean to you to be selected that early for a brand new head coach coming in?
Yeah,
a job like that.
Yeah, seeing Coach Monty get the job and then getting that call shortly after, it was special. It immediately made me feel like, okay, this means something. It's not just a regular call. But I think I was really just excited for the opportunity that was in front of me, knowing the history and just knowing that along with Coach Monty, a lot of other good coaches were coming along with him, just to coach his team and change the culture. And I just saw it as an open door. Just I can be the start of something very good. So I was like, this seems like a good opportunity for me.
Wilbert, your first season, if memory serves, you also played for a head coach that was known to have a little energy. Dick Vitale was his name. And now Nate comes in. He gets to play for a coach who has a fair amount of energy himself. What kind of similarities do you see when you see Nate's situation compared to the one that you came into?
Well, one of the similarities I see is that both coaches are very intense. Fortunately, Coach Marty doesn't talk as much as Coach Vitale. I can remember the first team meeting, Coach Vitale talked 2.5 or 3 hours straight. So what the first thing I did is ask one of my teammates, I said, does he talk like this all the time? He said, get used to it. So that's one of the similarities I see. And both of them are very intense on winning. And that's something I do love. I mean, matter of fact, I was familiar with Coach Monty when he was at Michigan State University because one of the other guys that I mentor, Aloysius Anaganye, Coach Monty was influential in terms of that recruiting as well.
Al Anaganye.
Yes.
No, I don't know. He goes down as one of the more, I'd say, one of the more fan favorite big men in Michigan State history.
Yes, I coached Al in high school, actually, at St. Martin de Porres.
You did a good job with him. So, Nate, when it comes to the way you've been able to transition from high school to the college ranks, what I think is really cool is that when you came from high school, you look at the numbers from high school and you go, okay, those are solid numbers. And then you come to the college level and a lot of those numbers look a lot like the high school numbers. And you're like, wow, that's a pretty smooth transition from a high school level to a college level. And a lot of people would think you might be able to pull something like that off if you're going from high school to D2, D3, something small. But to do it in Division I, not a lot of people can do that. So what do you give credit to? What do you attribute that transition to? Because not a lot of people can pull that off.
Yeah, I think I credit to just the type of work that's been put in over the years, and just the great amounts of advice that have been given to me, just to be able to translate the game the same way. When I was in high school, I was always told, like, your game will translate well in college basketball. I didn't believe it as much. I thought, okay, well, I'm going to have to go through some tribulations and figure out the feel for the game. And I still have to, definitely. But just being able to transition, I think I credit to the work and all the people who've just been in my ear, including Mr. Wilbert, just telling me certain things that need to be said in my freshman year. Those little knickknacks and little things, they'd all just added up. And they're still working to this day. So
listen to him, Mr. Wilbert. So Monty saw that, didn't he? That's because that's why he called you, right, Wilbert?
Yes. Actually, let me really go into how it happened. Nate was playing in a state championship game against Warren Lincoln up to East Lansing, and Coach Monty was actually getting ready to leave the game right before they played. So I say, Coach, I got my kid. I need you to stay and watch him. So he said, okay, I'll stay and watch. So he stayed and watched the championship game. And after the championship game, Nate and those guys lost the championship game. But Coach said, Will, he can play. I said, yeah, I know. That's why I asked you to stay and watch him.
Tighten Up is brought to you by Last Shot Premium Hydration, the official hydration drink of Tighten Up, the podcast. Their revolutionary formula is jam-packed with vitamin B12 and 0 grams of sugar. It helps the Titans hydrate, replenish, and recover. Try it at Callahan Hall during a Titans game or learn more at lastshotofficial.com. Nate, did you have any other – what schools did you have going after you?
I had a couple of D2s coming after me. but not a lot of recruitment coming my way. So it was me going into that state championship game. Really, that whole entire senior season, I just chose to bet on myself, and I just said I'm just going to double down and get as far as possible with this team. This team is special. We can go far, and I'm just going to see as much winning. How far can it get me?
Explain the bet. What's the bet that you make in that situation?
Yeah, going into my senior season in my what was that? The summer after my last summer of AAU, I still hadn't committed. I had a couple offers, and everybody was going through signing day. And usually when you go into your senior season, everybody starts to commit. And I just went into the season. And I said, I'm just going to bet on myself. I know, and I've been told. I'm just going to put in the work and see what comes out of it. I'm just going to pray every day. And just by God's grace, something comes out of it. And I think that's what I did. I doubled down on myself, and God opened the door for me.
Did you think 29 minutes a game would come out of it in your freshman season?
No, I did not. Coming to Detroit Mercy, and in the summer, just working. I think my whole mindset was just work as hard as possible, because it's rare for a freshman to play so much in his first year. But this team is just special in itself, because I don't think I'm the only freshman that's been blessed with the opportunity just to play so much as a true freshman. It's special.
And many of your teammates are having to grow kind of by being thrown into the fire, but you're a little different because you have basically been playing and contributing in a real significant way pretty much since game number one. So you have, I don't want to sound contrite, but more experience for being in your situation, given the circumstances. So you've played 20 games, from game one to where you are 20 games in. You're learning a lot. I feel like they're asking you to read the entire book in about an hour and a half. So what have you learned as you've started to pick all this up, as you've been baptized by fire here?
I feel that. Yeah. I think some of the things that I've learned the most are just the crispness of the game. The crispness of the game is very light. It's more tight. There's a lot less margin for error than it is in high school. I think the speed of the game is what's changing me, but it's not much faster. It's just more crisp. I think the physicality is a big thing, and just the attention to detail. Putting in the work and the extra workouts and just understanding what to work on once you get in the gym. I think it's pretty regular to me now, just because over the years people have just shown me how to put in certain work to translate to my game. But I think the physicality and the attention to detail for sure.
So, Wilbert, this is for you, and I will give a tip of the cap to our friends on the old message board, because a handful of years ago, Sam made a post, and he had given you a birthday shout out. And in doing so, he had talked about that he had met you and mentioned you being a successful business owner. You met at a business function, but he had said that you had gotten overlooked sometimes when people had talked about the key players in the Titan glory days. But he said this, he said his role was crucial. He arrived on campus in the fall of '76 and immediately made a positive impact on the team. And he said he got the ball to the right people at the right time. By the time he was a junior, he was a solid double-figure scorer himself. And I think about it, and I'm like, I feel like I could easily be reading the story of Nate Johnson in year one. I mean, there's very much more to that story that could be written, but when I see Nate play, when I see you play, I think he is doing everything that you'd want to see somebody do in your situation. Now, I'm sure you're going to say that you have a lot of other things that you want to, no pun intended, tighten up. But tell me what it is that you take most pride in about your game, where it's at right now.
I think I take most pride in My defense, I think my energy for sure. I think my energy fuels the team, one, but individually, I think it just gets me going, being able to just be in tune with the game. And just my shooting capability is something I worked on for years. Something that I was told, like, this will bring your game to the next level. And over the years, just steady being in the gym, shooting. I think my shooting capability off the dribble or off the catch has just grown a lot over the summer, over the years. But I say probably just my defense and my shooting capability and my ability to play at three levels, honestly. Because when I was in high school, I was always scouted as like the slasher, or he can get it off the bounce. Not working in the perimeter as much, but being able just to grow my game and my versatility on the court, I think that's what I bring to the game.
I did not have the pleasure of seeing the Dick Vitale and Smokey Gaines led Detroit Titans during the Wilbert McCormick playing days. So I will defer to you on this, Wilbert. What similarities do you see when you watch Nate play to a game like the one you had?
Well, Nate is definitely taller than I am, about 6 inches taller. Although they list him as 6'5", Nate is actually 6'7". So maybe one day soon they will change that in the program. But
I'll let them know.
Yeah, definitely let them know that he's 6'7" now. Last year in high school he was 6'5", 180 something. Now he's 6'7". So, but the similarities.
You want me to throw like 25 pounds on there for you too, Nate, or anything like that?
No, I think I'm way more than 190 now. I think I'd have got myself up to 200, 205 range. Thanks to Sam. I thank Coach Sam for that.
Yeah, so one of the similarities is that when I first came in, I was a member of the Dream Team in high school. I averaged about 23, 25 points in high school, but I was always a point guard. When I came into University of Detroit under Dick, some of the things that they were doing at UD, we did in high school. So it's like it really wasn't a big change for me. I immediately got a chance to play as a freshman and contributed on a team that actually my first year we won 25 games. We were 25-3 and had a 21-game winning streak. We were the only team to beat the NCAA champion that year, which was Marquette. We beat the NIT championship team that year, which is St. Bonaventure, who we broke their 78-game winning streak. So those are sort of similarities. One of the things I always tell Nate is that although I had talent coming into high school, I see him with definitely more upside than I have. And I think, when he begins to believe that to the fullest, he's going to get even better. Because, I've coached a lot of players, so I don't tell a player if they don't have ability. And, I've always seen that ability in them. So, and one of the other things is that, like myself, Nate is also a hard worker. So I've been getting on him in terms of even, when they ran the mile, he ran the mile in 5 minutes, and I know he can beat that. I mean, my time in the mile was 4:20. So I'm challenging him to even get up to that next year because, to be honest, Dan, Nate used to run with his mom when he was 8 or 9 years old, and he was running 5-minute mile back at that age. So he can definitely run fast, and he's shown.
So mom's kind of quite the athlete then. Is that where you got your athletic gifts then? Is that who gave that to you?
I think I gained my athleticism or my athletic gifts from all over my family. But my mom is like the all-around. She's the athlete. She's the nutritionist. She's the athletic trainer. My mom is just the all-around. She's the GOAT. That's what I call her. So she's like the all-knowing to me. But I got my athletic gifts from I have an uncle on my dad's side who played overseas, and his son played in the NBA and now plays overseas, Xavier Johnson. And my uncle on my mom's side, Uncle Tony Tucker, he was a boxer, heavyweight champion. I'm not sure if you heard that name before, but Tony Tucker, same family as Floyd Mayweather, and his uncle is my grandpa, Robert Tucker. So just an all around feel for sports around my family. It's probably way more I can name, but those are just the keys. I think that's where I got my gifts from, that and gifts from God, honestly. Just God given.
Xavier Johnson, Colorado State, Raekwon Battle, West Virginia,
Right, Raekwon
another
Battle,
one of your cousins, another Morgan Tuck, UConn,
Yeah,
4 NCAA titles. She played in the
Right.
WNBA, also won a title with the Seattle Storm in 2020. You got them everywhere, man.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
now she's in the office with the Connecticut Suns.
Nice.
Blessed with that job.
That's a big deal. That's very cool to see.
Definitely.
And, you know, the one thing that separates people in these industries is work ethic. And, you know, we talked about the similarities that, Wilbert, that you could draw between your game and Nate's game. And I know you guys are different sizes and whatnot, but, you know, there always can be some similarities. I think back to your story because you and I, Wilbert, we talked a handful of years ago for a different podcast. And one big difference between the two of your stories is that, Wilbert, if memory serves, you had a couple different offers. It was Detroit, it was Michigan, and it was Arizona, if I remember. Is that right?
Actually, I had probably over 100 offers.
Okay, but were those the ones you were really kind of honed in on?
The last 4 schools were Michigan, which I almost signed to go to Michigan 2 weeks before I signed to go to UD. Arizona, because they had a coach from Michigan there. Freddie Snowden was a coach, which they came in here my first year, ranked number 1 in the nation, and we beat them at UD. In Dayton, I had a guy who initiated me in high school, was at Dayton, Johnny Davis, who went on and later played for the Portland Trailblazers and win an NBA championship. So
you had nothing but offers. Meanwhile, Nate is like so many players. So many more players have Nate's story where he's like the guy, he's like Michael Jordan in the doc. You know, he's like the guy who says, and I took that personally because he didn't have the D1 offers until basically just before the buzzer sounded. And then Mark Montgomery ended up flipping him the offer towards the very end of the line. So I know that you have obviously had a chance to be, Wilbert, a big advocate for Nate. So as somebody who came from this background of you had these choices, you had these options, I know you play with a ton of guys who had to scrap, fight, and claw their way to earn everything they've got. So what advice have you given Nate?
Well, one of the advices I've given Nate is just always tell him to keep working hard and don't let anybody outwork him, because I can say this to you, Dan. One of the reasons, I don't think it was because of talent that he didn't get offered. I just don't think that the high school basketball players in Michigan get the type of exposure that they got when I was coming up. For instance, my first year in high school, I had 5 players go Division I. My second year, I had 2. My third year, we had 2. And my fourth year, we were ranked number 1 in the state. We had 5 guys go Division I. I can say that Nate has even more talent than all of us. And a lot of people are going to see it. I truly believe that. So I don't think it was because of talent that he didn't get it off. And I think that it was because of exposure. We had more exposure back then. I mean, you had more college coaches coming into the States to see players because of the online social media. I don't think coaches really get out like they used to. Back then you didn't have the social media, so coaches were more visible in the gym. I can remember when I was playing, at a given time, we may have 3 or 4 coaches at our practice. We played down the Cobo City Championship. We probably had 20, 25 coaches there. So I think we got more exposure back then. But I mean, I think the talent is here. I mean, and Nate definitely has a talent. And like I say, people will see it in the next few years at University of Detroit. And a lot of places that overlooked him will realize that this is a player that they overlooked. And so, like I always tell him, use that as fuel. Use that as energy. And don't ever let anybody outwork you. And you're going to reach your potential.
And to that point, Nate, what does it mean to you that Monty took that chance on you?
It means the world to me because before other schools, all the schools that had time, Mr. Wilbert and Coach Monty, they believed in me. Coach Monty believed that he had something special in a player like me. And I couldn't do anything but take the opportunity and do the most with it. So it was special.
Now, I don't know if you've all heard about this, but the Titans have had a few injuries this year and some circumstances that have left them a little shorthanded. Well, there was a game a couple of weeks ago against Purdue Fort Wayne where the Titans became one of, if not the only team in all of Division I college basketball, you both know where I'm going with this, that ended up starting an entire lineup with all freshman starters. Now, Detroit, the city of Detroit in the state of Michigan, is not new to this idea. You go back to 1991, there's a little group called the Fab Five.
Yes.
That once upon a time came around. It was Chris Webber and Jalen Rose and Juwan Howard and Jimmy King, Ray Jackson. I mean, there's precedent for this. Now, it was a little different there. We'll just say that. But I don't think anybody got hurt to make that one happen. But that being said, you guys were put in a very unique spot, and you guys have had to grow up pretty fast. How crazy is it that you guys, I'm sure when you were messing around and throwing up shots at the gym during the 80, 90 degree days during the summer, you probably didn't look around and say, we're probably going to run as the 5 starters coming up 10 games into the Horizon League season.
Nah, it wasn't a thought. It was crazy. Actually, one of my teammates can vouch for me. I stepped on the court after we did warm-ups, and we did the pregame call-out and everything, and Coach pulled us into a huddle, and then we did our call-out, and we were walking on the court, and I just looked around, and I said, man, come here. I just said, man, come here. I said, we all freshmen. Just go out there and play. Just play. I said, we got 5 freshmen. And we walked out on the court, and the other team came to line up and said, why are y'all starting 5 freshmen? And we said, we all we got. We all we got. And we fought that day. I was proud of everybody. We just fought hard that whole game. So, I mean, it was a crazy experience. It was crazy that I got to experience it with some people that I've just gained a strong relationship over the whole summer. People that I did not know a year ago. Just to be able to be on the court with them with 5 freshmen and just do something special. So it was a one of a kind moment.
And that was against Purdue Fort Wayne, a team that you guys have already beaten this year. I'm sure that was a very special win. I'll go back to that with you in a second because I do want to ask you about that one. But that's turned out to be a better and better win as the season has gone on. But in that game, you also had your career high with 19 points in that game. But as a freshman, one of the big things that you have to do is sort of prove to yourself that you belong here. I mean, it can only really happen when the game starts. I mean, you can have good practices, you can play well, you can get words of encouragement from assistant coaches here and there or a head coach, but it only really validates for you yourself when you do it in the game. And Wilbert, I know you watch these games so close, so I'll start with you. Was there a moment for you over the course of the season where it light bulb came on for you, where you realized, oh, wow, yeah, he already belongs?
Well, to be honest, Dan, I knew he belonged before he even started playing. It was just a matter of getting adjusted and getting acclimated to the college game. And the only thing, the real thing I wanted him to do coming into college was to get stronger and work hard. And I knew eventually he would, fit into the college game because I knew the ability was there, the talent is there. So it was about getting an opportunity and getting acclimated. So,
Nate, when did you believe that you belonged?
I think probably a month into practices in the summer. Just going and realizing like I'm playing against some tough guys. I can't say I'm just playing against a team full of freshmen and nobody else was not ready for Division I basketball because at the time I was playing against say Mac Mansell, Jared Larry, and Eman and Emmanuel and Legend and Lando and a team full of vets. And we were going at it every day. So I'm saying to myself, man, if I can play against them, and these are the guys who just compete in Division I basketball, I think I'll be ready when the game comes. But throughout the season, like you said, you have to be in the game to actually have to figure out if you're ready or not. So just being on the court every time, and just when the lights turn on, I hear my name get called and do my job. No more I can say about that one. Yeah,
it's so important to have people who can lead the right way, whether things are good, things are not where you want them to be, guys are healthy, guys are not healthy. Tell me about your leaders. Tell me about the way they've led and what effect they've had on your team this year.
Yeah, we've got a team full of leaders. Before we dealt with injuries and still dealing with injuries, Mac was a very powerful leader on our team. Jared was a leader as well, being a vet. His first year in Division I basketball, but he came in and he led our team. Lando, for sure, has been influential in just helping me understand the angles of basketball and when to do certain stuff. He tells me a lot. It's just something you're going to have to figure out over some years. Like it's not much I can tell you. You'll just feel it when it comes. But Legend, Eman has been a big piece of my growth, honestly. Just being able to just listen to everything he has to say. Because I know when I was being recruited in the summer, I was coming up for open gyms and I came up for my visit, just talking to Eman and him playing around the same position as I did in high school, playing the 3 and the 4. He just opened me up to a lot of new things, helping me just understand the game a little bit more before I had to feel it. So I think I was well prepared just with those players being around me. And just having an opportunity just to be around people who just love the game as much as I do. It's nothing like high school. So, and realizing that for the next 4 years, any type of years dealing with the way eligibility is now, the next 4 years, I'll be playing against guys who are 24, 26. It's like, for now, I'll be prepared. So.
Yeah, I thought those guys would be doctors at this point, but apparently they can just be basketball players.
Right. So just being able to just prepare that way, and just knowing going into the season before the season even started, all right, you not being 18, you being 18, the youngest player on the team, it does not mean a thing. She's got to get the job done.
Give some love to some of the other freshmen because obviously you're no longer the only freshman on this team that is a Horizon League Freshman of the Week. Another one who's joined those ranks in Ryan Callambay. But I know there's some other guys that are taking some steps forward.
Yeah, definitely Ryan Callambay. Ryan Callambay for sure. Miles Mitchell, the next rising big for us. Grant Gonzerzik. I got to make sure I say that right.
Nobody really knows. It's fine.
Who else we got? Steven Accordo. We got TJ Nadeau. Chase Kuiper. Who's am I missing? I'm not missing anybody, am I? Yeah. It's a team full of freshmen. And I think what I've noted is that this team full of freshmen work hard. We have a wave of guys who just came in on clean slate with the same situation, who just want to win and better their situation. I think that's just what it takes just to be a good team. And I think in years we're growing. So, I mean, we got a team full of freshmen who play as much as juniors and seniors now. So all we ever think of, Grant says it all the time, is, man, we just freshmen. Just think of what we can do in a year. Think of how we'll be in a year, because I think we're in an advanced position, and it's special for us.
Yeah, I mean, Wilbert, I mean, you've played, you've coached. You know, they're in a situation right now where, you know, so many guys are hurt, and you've got all these young players that, like Nate, that are learning so much on the fly. Mm-hmm. So what's the most important thing that I guess from like maybe a coach's perspective that you're trying to take away with what they have left this season? What are you most important? What's the biggest priority for you if you're trying to make sure that these guys have that positive experience? Because they had some really big wins earlier this season, and it's not really their fault that they're in a spot where they're not winning as much as they were earlier. They certainly have the talent to do it. It's just some of it's not on the floor right now.
Right. One of the things I would say is just to continue to work hard and play together and stay focused. And I mean, a lot of the growing pains as a freshman they've gone through, and realize that, I mean, before the season ends, you may get one of the key players I'm looking forward to coming back is Mac, because he was really coming to his own when he dislocated his ankle down to Ball State. And he was the one that I really saw as being one of the real influential leaders of the team. So I think that made a big difference. But the thing I could say is just continue to work hard. I mean, I see the progress. I mean, it doesn't show up in the wins and losses, but I see the improvement in quite a few of the players. So, you know.
We mentioned those wins in the early season, and I think about Ball State. I mean, that was a win on the road. Mm-hmm. Eastern Michigan, that was a win on the road.
Yes.
Purdue Fort Wayne, Robert Morris, and that was after a couple of guys went down.
Yes.
I mean, there are some good wins on the ledger for you guys this year. Are there any wins among the ones you've had this year that stand out to you, that you enjoyed maybe more than any of the others?
I'd probably say if I had to pick out of all our wins, I'd probably pick the Eastern game. That game was just that game was just so intense for me going into that game, and I know a couple of the players on the team, just because we were all it was a personal thing with us. And then we also had 2 transfers from Eastern and Coach Stone from Eastern. So that game, it was intense for us going there. We had our heads locked on, we're going to beat them. We don't care what it comes down to. If we got to go to overtime, we got to beat them by 30, or we're going to beat them by 1 point. We're going to beat them. So then Lando sending that game to overtime was crazy, knowing that he came from Eastern and sending that game in overtime, and then we just finished the game off strong. I think that game was also special just because we came together as one. You can see it in our bench energy throughout the game. Jared Larry got hurt that game. And I think that just lit a different spark in us. We was like, man, now we gotta win the game. Because Mac was on the sideline. He was already hurt. And Legend was dealing with some like surface injuries. But once Jared went down, it just kind of lit a spark in us. And we just went out and fought. And that game was fun, because as soon as we got to the locker room, that's all we could think about was, man, they overlooked us. Man, it was personal, and it was fun.
They do a Gatorade shower after that win at Eastern?
Did we? Yeah, we did. Nah, we didn't. Coach Monty came in the locker room, and we were definitely going to.
I heard it was like 10 degrees in that building. Probably not a good idea.
Yeah, no, that gym was cold. No, we couldn't get a Gatorade shower off. Somebody might have froze just sitting in the locker room. But no, Monty came in the locker room, and we were ready for him, and he literally came back and said, "No water, no water, no water." We just had to celebrate, but it was fun, man. We had a great time that whole trip. The bus ride there, the bus ride back. We were all united, And I think we still have that. And I think we still work hard. And I think we go into every practice wanting to look for that outlook, just to win as many games as possible. So I think if we just keep our heads locked on these next 12 games, I think we'll do what we need to do. Coming in March, it'll be time to rock 0-0 at that point.
Wilbert, you've coached. One of my favorite things, and Nate, I'm glad you said Eastern, is the fact that, so this is my 7th year doing this. And for the first 6 years, we had not won an overtime game at all. This year, we played 3. We've won all 3. I don't know. It's just funny how like the luck of the draw plays out. We could not buy an OT win for 6 years. And now it's like, just get the game to OT and we're good. So what is it about getting it to OT right now? I don't know. Something tells me, like, I always feel like if you can get the game to overtime in almost any sport, really comes down to hustle, heart, and I think it does come down to coaching and making some important decisions late.
Definitely. Can I answer this one real quick? I think something that fueled us is every time we get into a tight game and we're around down 5 or up 5 with 2 minutes left to go, I always remember myself going into timeout and yelling to the team, "We're good for a dogfight. I don't care what it comes down to. We're good for a dogfight." And every time we brought a team to OT, we bring out the dogfight. Like I said, and before, Lando being one of the most influential players in my career so far, every time we go into an OT, you see a different Lando. He just kind of dials it forward and takes us to the win. But I mean, just Lando at the same time, coach making his changes, doing what needs to be done to win the game. Every time we go into overtime, I think I know we have a good chance of winning because we go for a dogfight.
Wilbert.
Okay, to interject it as well is that going to overtime, I think the coaches as well as the players really come to the realization that every possession count. So whether you're in a 3-minute overtime or 5-minute overtime, every possession count. And it really comes down to a lot of times of who wanted more. And I mean, I've seen these guys, toughen up during overtime. I've seen them getting the crucial rebounds during overtime. I've seen them hit the crucial shots during overtime. I mean, they've just become more aggressive to me in overtime and more focused.
Look, if you were there last year and you saw 1-31, I mean, this makes you want to plan a parade down Woodward. we have a situation here where we are just so happy to see competitive, hustle, aggressive, get after it kind of basketball. So there's just so much energy involved in this. And that's everything that people have wanted to see, and to that point, one of the things I really like is after games, when you guys go around the ring at Callahan and go see people and go spend time with people. Tell me a little bit about that and what you've learned and who you've met and what kind of experience and what you've taken away from doing stuff like that.
Yeah, after our first home win, another thing that I haven't seen before, we all huddled on the court before we went back into the locker room, and he just told us after every game, win or lose, draw, we're going to go around and we're going to thank every fan for coming and supporting us. So just doing that, I think I'll probably meet a new person every time I go around the circle. And it's just special. It's special just to grow those connections, and even just a 30-second conversation. It's just networking and just growing those relationships with people that you haven't met before, people that you've probably seen once or twice and not knowing who they are. It's very different to me because it's something I haven't seen before, but it's special and it's needed in a world like this.
And for the record, if you would like to have Nate come out and do something for your people, your community, you can coordinate that with us. You can go to the shieldnil.org and we can help set that up for you. The people at the Shield, at Team Nilo, can help coordinate that and help Nate as well. So again, Nate, you've got a handful of games left. I know you've already done a lot of things that you set out to do here in year one, but what else is there? What else do you either want to continue to do, to add before this thing wraps up here for the first year?
Yeah. I definitely something I've been thinking about is just getting more steals on my resume for my freshman year. One, but two, just continuing to bring my numbers up and continuing to just be a leader for this team. As we've lost some guys during the season through injury, just being able to just bring the best out of my game every night, and just compete. Stay healthy is another important to me. Just stay healthy as long as possible. Take care of your body. Yeah, just bring my best game out every night. Just come in the game aggressive, and just wanting to win every night.
It's a different beast because, it's one thing to be playing 18 to 22 minutes a night. And Wilbert, I know you can attest to this too, but now Nate's playing 28, 32. Last two games, he's played 36 minutes, and that is not the same thing.
I would definitely agree to that. And fortunately, when I played at University of Detroit, I was one of those 35 to 40-minute players also. So I can definitely attest to that. And that's why you have to have good work ethics. You have to eat well and sleep well and do all the things necessary to, keep your body healthy. So to interject something else, one of the things I want Nate to do also is to rebound more. One of the other things is that in high school, he was a good free throw shooter, but he's missed too many free throws this year for my liking. So that's something I'm constantly on him about. So,
and to your credit, Nate, that has gotten better as the season's gone on. We've noticed that, and I'm sure that you've put some time in on that, haven't you?
Yeah, I definitely have. Knowing that just in high school I was a good free throw shooter, and it was never anything I had to second guess. I knew, okay, if I get fouled, two of these are going down. But just started the season a little shaky. The crowd's different. Missed a couple, but about 5 games in, I started to just pick it up and turn around. So, yeah, my biggest thing is just staying in the gym. Coach is always harping on it. Just whatever you need to get better on, work on it. And it's just as simple as that. You work on it. You see yourself make the shot in the game. It'll feel normal. It's like second nature at that point. So, yeah, just putting in the work. I think as much shooting I do and off the dribble work and anything else I do in the gym, I might as well shoot as many free throws. So
I can tell you this, Grand Rapids Christian, very nice gym. There's going to be a few more people in some of the gyms around the Horizon League and certainly at Callahan Hall. Nate Johnson, Wilbert McCormick, it's amazing how fast an hour flies by. It's so cool to be able to bring you guys both together and family members. I mean, this is such a cool opportunity, and I can't thank you both enough for spending some time with us. This is a rare chance for us to be able to bring both of you in, and I can't thank you both enough. First of all, Nate, continued success this year. So cool to get a chance to have you, and we're so excited for what this will look towards, whether it be the end of this year and certainly into the years ahead.
I appreciate that, Dan. I appreciate you for having me on here. It was a one-of-a-kind experience for sure.
And we'll certainly do it again. And Wilbert, thank you to you. And Wilbert, I can't thank you enough as well because, this is something that when we looked over the course of the roster going into this season, one of the things that I think this team had lacked over the course of the last handful of years was players with true Detroit and Detroit Mercy connection. And you looked at Orlando Lovejoy, literally has 313 tattooed on his arm. And you look at Nate and you see that he's cousins with you. I mean, all of a sudden you go, yeah, like these guys are Titans. And all of a sudden you go, this is the team that belongs here. So thank you to you, Wilbert, for pushing Mark Montgomery to come out and see Nate, because without you, Nate's probably not wearing the pullover that he has on right now.
And thank you for inviting me to the show, Dan. Appreciate you.
Yeah, very good to have both of you guys. And that wraps up another edition of Tighten Up the Podcast. So we hope you enjoyed this edition of Nate Johnson and Wilbert McCormick. And who knows, hopefully we'll get a chance to talk about the past and the present coming together. We'll hopefully be able to do something like this again in the future. You know, I think about the fact that Lamonte Stone, assistant coach for Detroit Mercy basketball, and his son, Lance Stone, who is on the verge of becoming the all-time assists leader in the state of Michigan with high school basketball. Such a cool opportunity maybe to have those two come on and join us at some point throughout the course of this season. So much more to come. We still have a bunch of shows left here in this season of Tighten Up the Podcast. Don't forget, you can find me on X at @DanHasty and on Instagram at Dan Hasty. Much more to come in the weeks ahead, and I'll talk to all of you Titans of Industry next time.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Tighten Up the Podcast. Join our community at The Shield on theshieldnil.org and follow us on X and Instagram at theshieldnil.
If I can tell you one thing above all else as part of this show, it would be this. If you're unfamiliar, if you haven't done it before, join the community at The Shield Online. It's online at theshieldnil.org. That's theshieldnil.org.